authorities say the man thought to be the gunman in the Strasbourg Christmas market shooting that left 3 dead has been killed in a shootout with police. So let's start with domestic politics this morning. National Assembly Speaker Moon Hee-sang and the floor leaders of South Korea's 5 main parties will gather this hour to discuss pending issues amid the ongoing strike from the minor opposition parties over reforming the way elections are organised here in South Korea. The meeting comes at the request of Moon. He hopes to mediate between the parties on the election reform issue and end the 9-day hunger strike of the leaders of some opposition parties as soon as possible. The floor leaders are also expected to discuss the agenda for the December extraordinary session and an extension to the running of the Political Reform Committee. South and North Korea have agreed on a date to hold a groundbreaking ceremony for work to connect their railways and roads. As it turns out, it will happen before the end of this year, as agreed by the leaders of the two Koreas at their summit in Pyongyang back in September. Park Hee-jun with the details.
South and North Korea have agreed to hold the groundbreaking ceremony for their joint project to modernize and connect their railways and roads on December 26th. And it will take place at the North Panmun station within the border village of Kaesong. This comes after the two sides held working-level talks on Thursday at the Joint Liaison Office in Kaesong, and according to Seoul's Unification Ministry, it's been decided that around 100 people from each side will attend the ceremony.
South and North Korea held talks today about the ceremony to start work on connecting railways and roads along the Gyeonggi Line and the Donghae Line. We agreed to hold the ceremony on Wednesday, December 26 at Panmun Station.
The ceremony will mark the official start of the two Koreas' joint transportation projects. The leaders of the two Koreas agreed at their Pyongyang summit in September to break ground on interconnected railways and roads within the year. To make it happen, the two sides have been inspecting the North's railways since earlier this month. They also completed a joint survey of roads along the western side of the peninsula, but have yet to fix a schedule for inspecting the ones in the east. The ministry says the ceremony will show the two Koreas' strong determination to push ahead with the project, but there's still the question of whether the ceremony would violate U.S.-led sanctions. If it would violate them, then Seoul will have to seek a sanctions waiver from Washington. The South Korean government will continue to work with the U.S. to go ahead with the event in a way that does not raise concerns from the international community. Park Hee-jun, Arirang News.
The two Koreas are set to discuss cooperation in the field of sports. South Korea's Unification Ministry says officials will meet later today at the Inter-Korean Liaison Office just north of the Inter-Korean border. The South's delegation will be led by Sports Minister No Tae-gang and the North's by the regime's Vice Sports Minister Won Gil-woo. The meeting will focus on fielding unified teams at the 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympics and on ways to bid to jointly host the Summer Olympics in 2032. Friday's meeting follows last month's first inter-Korean talks on sports. South Korea's Navy, Marine Corps and Coast Guard kicked off their regular 2-day Dokdo defense drill on Thursday. A naval official confirmed that 8 vessels, including a 3,200-ton destroyer and 5 aircraft, were deployed in the drill. The Dokdo defense drill, which aims to defend Korea's easternmost islets, dates back to 1986 and has been held twice a year since 2003. The last drill took place in mid-June this year. Dokdo has belonged to Korea since ancient times and is under the legal and effective control of the South Korean government, but Japan continues to make false claims to it. President Moon Jae-in was in the southeastern province of Gyeongsang-namdo on Thursday to talk about what South Korea needs to do to revitalize its slowing economy. He said the key is innovation in manufacturing. The visit was part of the president's tour aimed at boosting local economies outside of Seoul. Hwang Ho-jun with the details.
제조업에 혁신이 일어나야 대한민국 경제가 살고 경남 지역 경제도 살아납니다.
President Moon Jae-in was speaking at an event on Thursday where the government revealed its strategies for innovation, which include the implementation of smart manufacturing in the southeastern province of Gyeongsang-namdo. He admitted the Korean economy is losing steam because the manufacturing sector, the nation's traditional driving force, is facing serious competition from emerging countries.
우리도 제조업 혁신으로 경쟁력을 높이고 제조업 강국으로 재도약해야 할 때입니다. 혁신 성장과 일자리 만들기를 위한 제조 혁신은 더 이상 미룰 수도 피할 수도 없는 과제입니다.
Gyeongsang-namdo has adopted manufacturing innovation as its key growth strategy. President Moon also asserted the importance of expanding the so-called smart factory system, an initiative that provides automation solutions and intelligent upgrades for higher productivity in manufacturing facilities, especially for small and medium-sized companies. He called the smart factories the key to innovation.
제조 혁신의 관건은 중소기업입니다. 대기업은 이미 자체적으로 스마트 공장이 많이 도입되어 있기 때문에 이제 중소기업으로 확산시킬 때입니다.
As a matter of fact, the government has allocated over $1 billion next year to support so-called smart innovation for smaller enterprises. President Moon said the administration plans to boost the number of smart factories to 30,000 by the year 2022. He also pledged to designate 2 smart industrial complexes next year and increase that number to 10 by 2022 as well. And by introducing and expanding the smart factory system, President Moon also promised workers that industrial accidents will be reduced by 30%. Before returning to Seoul, President Moon Jae-in visited a production line at a local smart factory and also had lunch with local business leaders to encourage them. Hwang Ho-jun, Arirang News.
South Korea manufacturers' profitability last quarter rose to its highest level in around 3 years. According to the nation's central bank, the bumper profits were mainly due to strong semiconductor exports. Go Ryun-hee reports.
Korean companies saw their profitability increase in the third quarter compared to last year on the back of strong exports in the machinery and electronics sectors. This is according to the Bank of Korea's quarterly report released on Thursday, which is based on a sample survey of more than 3,000 companies. These firms' operating profits to sales ratio or profitability came to 7.6% for the third quarter. This is higher than last year's Q3 record of 7.4%. Breaking down by sector, profitability in the manufacturing industry hit a record high of 9.7%. This was mainly thanks to strong global demand for Korean semiconductors. Exports of semiconductors surged by more than 40% on-year in the third quarter. The BOK said another factor was a rise in exports of OLED panels. In fact, shipments of OLED panels accounted for almost half of all display panel exports in Q3, which was a big jump from last year. However, a separate report from the Korea Economic Research Institute shows that without the performances of these top companies, the situation in the electronics sector is looking grim. When the institute measured operating profits at 47 electronics companies for the first 3 quarters of this year, it grew by more than 50% on-year. But when it excluded the profits of Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix, the nation's biggest chip makers, operating profits fell by almost 50% during the same period. Experts blame factors both at home and abroad.
Korean companies' technological competitiveness has not been improving. On top of that, Korea is closely followed by China. Also, I believe a rise in labor costs made companies less competitive.
고르니, Arirang News.
Samsung Electronics has been named as Russian citizens' favorite brand for the 8th year in a row. Out of the 1,500 Russian consumers who answered an online survey conducted by Russian market research firm OMI, 18.3% named the South Korean tech giant as their favorite brand. Samsung easily beat its arch-rival Apple, which came in 4th. Korea's LG Electronics saw a rise of over 4% in the survey, but dropped 1 spot to 8th compared to last year. The parliamentary vote on British Prime Minister Theresa May's Brexit plan is set to take place next month in January 2019. The announcement by her spokesperson came as EU leaders are holding a summit in Brussels to discuss the Brexit deal. For more on this and other news from around the world, let's turn, as we like to do, to our Noah Adam. So Adam, just fill us in on the latest.
Well, Mark, Mrs May postponed the vote, which was meant to take place earlier this week, as her Brexit deal was widely expected to be voted down. Her spokesperson said the vote will not take place before Christmas, and according to a schedule published Thursday by the leader of the House of Commons, it may take place in January. May's government has previously promised the vote will take place before January the 21st, to be exact. The Prime Minister is now in Brussels to seek assurances from EU leaders regarding the so-called backstop issue, that is the provision that stops a hard Irish border after Brexit. Critics suggest it will permanently keep the UK under EU customs rules and hinder any chances of negotiating trade deals with other countries. On Thursday, May appealed to her EU counterparts for concessions to help her win support in Parliament. She did, however, note that she was not expecting an immediate breakthrough. The overall consensus in Brussels is that they want to help the UK by clarifying the agreement made last month, but they are also warning that it is not up for renegotiation. French police have killed the suspected gunman who attacked people at a Christmas market in Strasbourg earlier this week. 29-year-old Sherif Chakat was shot dead on Thursday evening, local time, after a two-day manhunt. Police spotted him on a street in the Dokdo district in Strasbourg, and he was said to have opened fire on the officers when they tried to question him. 3 people were killed and more than a dozen others were injured in Tuesday's terrorist attack. A high-speed train crash in the Turkish capital Ankara has killed at least 9 people and injured dozens more. The Thursday morning train was said to have collided head-on with another train which was checking the tracks at Marzandis station and then onto a pedestrian overpass. The high-speed train was carrying more than 200 passengers and usually passes the station without stopping. Emergency services are working to rescue passengers from the wrangled cars and debris. The exact cause of the crash remains unclear, but 3 state railway workers have been detained over suspected negligence. A string of famous stars and politicians have poured into one of the most expensive and lavish weddings in India that brings together 2 of the country's richest families. The week-long celebration reportedly cost nearly $140 million. Guests include Bollywood's top actors as well as politicians such as Hillary Clinton. Pre-wedding celebrations even consisted of a private concert by Beyoncé. The bride, Isha Ambani, is the daughter of industrialist Mukesh Ambani, who is thought to be India's richest man with an estimated net worth of over $43 billion. The wedding venue is taking place at the billionaire's 27-story Mumbai home. The groom, Ambani-Piramal, is the son of Ajay-Piramal, who is thought to be worth $10 billion.
Thank you, as always, to our Noah Adam for the world news there. Now, South Korea is currently hosting one of the biggest events in table tennis, the World Tour Grand Finals. Competing in the mixed doubles are a South Korean man and a North Korean woman, the same pair who won a tournament together in July. Won Jung-hwan reports.
Table tennis's biggest stars are in South Korean city of Incheon, aiming for glory at the 2018 World Tour Grand Finals. The top 16 players in the men's and women's singles and the top 8 teams in the men's, women's and mixed doubles, based on their performances in the 12 World Tour events, are competing in the 4-day tournament which opened on Thursday. And among the table tennis superstars, the spotlight for this year's tournament is on the joint Korean team. Changwon from South Korea and Chayoshim from North Korea have once again teamed up in the mixed doubles in front of South Korean spectators. Chang and Cha won the mixed doubles title at the Korea Open in Daejeon back in July. They also played together at the Austria Open last month, losing in the semifinals to a Chinese duo. The unified team faced 2017 world champions Maharu Yoshimura and Kasumi Ishikawa of Japan in their first match, but backed by the home crowd, they managed to earn a 3-2 victory. Ever humble, after the game, the United Korean teammates complimented each other for a wonderful start.
I had some pressure during the game because we were facing the defending champions in the first match. As I was nervous, we dragged out the game for quite long, but I think we managed to win because my sister did so well.
My little brother did well, and that is why we grabbed a win today.
With the win at the quarterfinal stage on Thursday, the joint Korean duo of Chang and Cha are one step closer for their dream of being crowned mixed double champions for their second time in their international careers. 원정환, 아리랑 뉴스, 인천.
Now let's stick with sports. One of the most popular figures in the whole of Vietnam is none other than the South Korean head coach of their national football team. Park Hang-seo is on the verge of making history if he can lead Vietnam to victory against Malaysia in this weekend's Suzuki Cup final. Lee Seung-jae reports.
Some call him the Inspirer, others call him the Korean hitting, after the Dutch head coach who led the South Korean national football team to semi-final glory at the 2002 Korea-Japan World Cup. But everyone in Vietnam will tell you Park Hang-seo is already a legend in his own right. In the first leg of the 2018 Suzuki Cup final, Vietnam drew 2-2 against Malaysia, extending Park's undefeated streak to 15 games, tying a record also held by France. With the second leg of the final taking place on Saturday evening, there's no room for a loss this time, as a win or a 0-0 or 1-1 draw would give the Golden Dragons their second ever Suzuki Cup title and 16 matches without a loss, a new record. Just as when Park led Vietnam's under-23 team to the final of the Asian Championships in January, the streets of Hanoi and other Vietnamese cities will be packed with fans cheering on their team. Park hopes that with the final leg being played in Hanoi, the home crowd will be the 12th man that will drive them to a famous victory. The game kicks off on Saturday evening at 9:30 p.m. Korea time. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Now, the South Korean animation industry saw great success this year overseas. Sales grew at international expos by more than a third. The South Korean government is also looking to throw its hefty support behind the industry as well. Yoon Jung-min reports.
South Korea's animation industry is gaining popularity around the world and could be the next Korean wave. According to the Korea Creative Content Agency, local cartoon producers sold some $142 million of products at world's top 4 animation expos this year, a 34% increase from the year before. One local animation studio that has gone global is Studio Gale. This year, the company signed a contract with a Singaporean company to co-produce the animation Tish Tash. Founded in 2008, Studio Gale boasts expertise in a range of 3D animations from slapstick comedy to action-adventure. It has also worked with another producer, Iconics, on children's favorites Pororo, the Little Penguin, and Tayo.
Korean animations for preschoolers such as Pororo and Tayo are very popular overseas. On the other hand, the U.S. animation industry is focused on family animations, including theatrical animation films. I believe the Korean animation industry also has great potential for family animation if we focus on them.
Other local producers such as Hong Dang-moo and Most Tapes have also seen success in overseas markets this year.
Korean animation designed for children is popular overseas. The moving pictures are very delicate and pleasing to watch, and Asian values contained in the movies appeal to foreign markets.
As the content industry emerges as a promising future growth engine, the Korean government is also pushing for its development. At Thursday's ministerial meeting, Prime Minister Lee Na-kyun emphasized the importance of bolstering the content industry, including games, animation, and music. He called on ministries and the public sector to work together to support the industry. With the government's support, the content industry is expected to build on its recent success. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
Now, a lot of kids say when they grow up, they want to be a doctor, a nurse, a fireman, an astronaut, maybe an artist. These are some of the traditional answers we used to hear a decade or two ago anyway. However, a new survey suggests the jobs Korean children dream of now are changing a lot these days. Hong Yu reports.
Students' job preferences are changing and some traditional job categories are losing popularity. The Ministry of Education and Korea Research Institute for Vocational Education and Training have released the results of a survey which shows the job preferences of 27,000 students from elementary, middle, and high schools. One of the new entrants on this year's top 10 most preferred jobs was YouTuber, which was one of the top 5 jobs chosen by elementary school students. Another new job on the list was beauty designer, which includes jobs like hair designer, makeup and nail artist, and tattooist. For the past 5 years, teacher was the #1 dream job for students, but it is losing popularity this year. It is still the most wanted job among middle and high school students, but has fallen in popularity over the past 10 years. And for elementary students, teacher has lost the top spot to athlete, which was the most desired job for more than 9% of elementary school students. Based on this research, more than 90% of schools are developing career education plans, and many schools have a separate department in charge of such plans. Parents are also demanding information sharing and training so they can give their child career guidance. Hong Yu, Arirang News.
Good morning. The freezing air is back again with cold wave alerts in place, and temperatures in the northern regions were down to almost -10 degrees Celsius this morning. It felt like -11 here in the capital, and even as cold as -20 degrees for some areas, including Daegwallyeong in Gangwon province. And you know, these cold temperatures are enough to refreeze any leftover water or snow from yesterday, so let's all be careful on the roads today. Seoul will actually be colder than Beijing. Meanwhile, Beijing's annual winter air pollution looks to be getting even worse this winter. Even today, some areas in China's capital will have unhealthy levels of air pollution. Korea, however, will have decent air quality today, but it's going to remain quite cold, topping out at 1 degree here in the capital, 2 degrees in Chuncheon. So bundle up on your way out. After our cold and frosty start to Saturday morning, Mother Nature will finally give us a break next week, temperatures climbing above 0. And on Sunday, though, a mix of rain and snow is expected for most parts of the country. That's Korea for you, and here's international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's all we have for now on this Friday morning here in Seoul. Please stay tuned to Arirang TV. We'll have our next newscast coming up at noon Korea time with our very own Lee Ji-yoon. But if we don't see you, have a wonderful weekend. Until next time, goodbye.